Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Delighted to have in the studio, always with us, Dr. Joel Klein's with us today from Ventana Wellness, and we're talking about, well, something we all like to do. It's called sleep. Do we get enough of it? What is quality sleep, and just what you should be looking towards? And well, Dr. Klein, I don't know about this. I love naps.
Sure you do.
You know, and I'm wondering if I wonder if the Hispanics got it down. I mean, they do the siesta thing, you know. We in America go out and call on their clients while they're snoozing, but...
Right. Well, something to be said about, well, of course, when you live closer to the equator, there's something to be said about not working when there was no air conditioning.
Yeah, there you go.
But 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
They eat dinner late at night. I wonder if that's any good.
You know, that's always mystified me. I remember people being in Italy and people coming, starting at 10 o'clock at night, and I still don't quite get that one.
I don't either.
They have some way they've worked it out.
I don't know if I can.
For most of us, it doesn't work very well.
Well, why is sleep so important?
Obviously, we're still learning. There's so much research being done on why do we need to do this. But one of the main things is that sleep is when the body repairs the damage for the day, from the day before, and also is adjusting to the environment at any time. This is what we learned. Let's say, of course, coming here from Colorado, and I learned a lot about altitude issues and all that. It was the altitude that you slept at that was determining how your body did and how you adjusted. So these people who are going to the Himalayas would find one of the easier 14ers to climb in Colorado and sleep on the summit because their body was acclimating then. For most of us, it's the nervous system, it's the hormone system under normal circumstances, and that's something I hope that we'll get to, is repairing from what happened during the day. And we're still learning about neurologically why this is necessary and what happens. What are even dreams about? I mean, we can look at that on all kinds of different levels, both from a psycho-spiritual sense to even a physiologic sense.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to open up the phone lines, too. If you want to join us, you're welcome to do that. The phone number is 541-776-5368 or toll-free 1-800-373-5368. Dr. Joel Klein's here. We're talking about sleeping, and if you have any questions about it, because sleeping disorders, I mean, they're through the roof, and these sleep clinics going on.
Right.
But there's just a lot of issues.
All kinds of issues are one of the sleep clinics, and these things are looking at, because we're a society where obesity is rampant, that more and more people have extra tissue here around the neck, and this is the sleep apnea issue. Also, the tissues relax as we get older, so people literally stopping breathing because the airway gets obstructed at night, and this is the severe snoring and the people waking up with that. Yeah. There's neurologic issues that seem to be going on as well, where people are just not sleeping. That does not have to do with obstructive sleep, but there's a huge part of this, and a lot of it has to do with stress hormone issues that are not the way they're supposed to be because of chronic stress, and where we have very high levels of cortisol at night when we're supposed to have our very low levels of cortisol at night. This is a chronic stress pattern that people can get into over time when the normal cortisol curve reverses. So instead of being high in the morning and low at night, it's low in the morning and people feel tired in the morning, and then they're wired at night, can't sleep, or their sleep is disturbed at night and their body's not repairing at night, and this becomes a very vicious cycle.
How important is sleep? I mean, how many hours and that whole thing?
Well, this obviously varies. I think that I know for people who have fatigue issues and all that, we want them getting 8 to 9 hours. Okay. Whether everybody needs that, it's really hard to give a universal prescription. I would say 8 to 9 hours. I mean, if we look at it, anybody who goes camping knows that you go to bed soon after the sun's down. We don't have the electric lights. We don't have these, to some degree. So whether we're staying up late, how much of it has to do with electricity, even electronics, doing things like watching television. So your nervous system is in a different state. Plus watching television from bed. So that your body is, you're learning that your body's saying, well, bed is not the place you sleep, bed is the place you watch television, and you can actually train your body to not think you're supposed to sleep in bed with some of these types of habits. But most of us, I'd say, in general, 8 to 9 hours. Some may need more, some may need less, depending on where they are in their lives.
What's considered quality sleep?
Well, that you really have to look at. Quality sleep is when you feel rested in the morning. Now, if we look at it from electroencephalograms and they do sleep studies, people need to be getting into this deeper state, what they call stage 4 sleep. And that's a big issue because many people are not getting into stage 4, particularly older people. As we age, we don't. Now, that may be normal with aging. Because when they study, we just don't get enough. But when younger people are not getting into that deeper sleep and they're spending a lot of time in the REM sleep dreaming, which is a more superficial state, they also don't get complete rest. And that is a big function in a lot of muscular pain syndromes where the muscles are never fully relaxed at night because you're not getting into that deeper sleep. And this is a big contributor to things like fibromyalgia.
Man, I got a ton of questions here, but
go for it.
All right, let me go to the phone. And by the way, if you want to join us, Dr. Joel Klein's with us. 776-5368 is the local number, and toll free 800-373-5368. I think Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. I think you got a great question. Go ahead with it.
Hi, I was just wondering why do people wake up with headaches? Usually, probably about an hour before you normally would wake up.
A couple of reasons. Waking up with a headache can be low blood sugar. We see that a lot, actually. People who wake up, especially at 4 o'clock in the morning, for complex reasons that have to do with the adrenal cortisol and absorption of food, people go hypoglycemic around 4 o'clock in the morning, and the adrenaline wakes them up. Morning headaches can also have to do with the sleep apnea issue. This is actually a common symptom, especially if the headache is in the back of the head. So if we have the occipital headache in here that people wake up with, or this fog kind of headache in here, those can be people who are recurrently stopping breathing through the night. Can also be muscular tension, people who are still holding a lot of tension in their neck and muscles and all of that can have headache issues from that. Even the way your pillow, this is more of a chiropractic question, if in the alignment of your neck. So neck problems can give headaches, and if your neck is actually in a stressful position for you, that can cause a problem as well. So there's a number of issues.
Could a food cause that too, that you shouldn't have eaten?
Possibly. I had a patient who had a headache every morning for 3 years that went away when she stopped eating gluten. So some of it, but they were like migraine-like headaches. So occasionally food allergies can play a role in that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Marilyn. All right. If you have any questions, 776-5368 or toll free 1-800-373-5368. Joel Klein talking about good sleep. All right. Are we going to bed too stimulated?
Absolutely.
All right.
All of us.
Stage 4, I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, to get into, that's the deepest level of sleep, and you know that is a deep delta wave, what we can see on an electroencephalogram. That's when the muscles are much more deeply relaxed and everything, and that's a much deeper level of sleep. And the problem is with a lot of the sleeping medications, even though they help you, especially the ones for falling asleep, which a lot of them are the Valium derivatives and these things, while they get you to sleep, you don't get into stage 4 as much. So you sleep, but the sleep is not as restful.
Fascinating. All right. If you got any questions, let us know. 776-5368 or toll free 1-800-373-5368. Now, a lot of people just can't go to sleep.
Right. This is a huge, huge problem.
Is it growing?
Well, I don't know if it seems to be or whether we're just seeing more. I think it's probably growing. I don't know that people have done a statistic,
Is it the stimulation in our culture?
It's all of it. It's my old trio of diet, stress, and environmental toxins.
Okay.
And what's happening with the brain, with the hormone system in particular, and also what we can tell from neurochemistry, some of these issues. It's the effect of our entire culture.
I notice if I eat too much, I don't sleep well. If I eat and go to bed, I'm in trouble.
Right. Oh yeah, because your body's still working, trying to digest your food, and so that is a problem. Of course, that also makes esophageal reflux problems worse if you eat soon before going to bed. So that's never a real good idea. However,
take a walk. Huh?
There's one. Yeah, people who do have that waking up in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning type of thing may do better with something like a piece of fruit. Something that's a non-flour product, not a low glycemic type of thing, to help them, and they may sleep through the night because then their blood sugar doesn't drop low. But it certainly should not be a big serving, and it shouldn't be of things like flour products, bread, pasta, or these types of things.
All right. We'll take a quick break. Joel Klein's with us today. If you have any questions for the doc, give him a call, 776-5368 or toll free 800-373-5368. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back with Dr. Joel Klein from Ventana Wellness. We're talking about a subject that, well, it affects us all, and that is called sleep. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting quality sleep? Do you wake up tired? Do you wake up refreshed? Do you like naps? Do you snore? All of those issues. And if you want to join the conversation, 776-5368 is the local number, 776-5368, or toll free, 1-800-373-5368, and you're welcome to join the conversation. Well, when should you see a doctor about sleep problems?
Well, when it's affecting the quality of your life. So you could obviously, you're not sleeping, you're exhausted, have trouble focusing, because you can tell you're up and down all night, and it's clearly affecting the way that you feel during the day. The big issue, like let's say with sleep apnea, is people who, number one, if their spouse hears them snoring and certainly stopping breathing for a period of time and then waking themselves up. Those people also typically, again, can awaken with a headache, will feel like any time of the day, so I could just go to bed anytime, all during the day, and may find themselves partially nodding off, obviously, at the steering wheel. Those are danger signs. Even people with high blood pressure, that there's not a real clear reason, which a lot of times there's not, but high blood pressure, and it will be a part of that, because that sleep apnea puts a big stress on the heart and is associated with a much higher rate of sudden death in people. But basically, if you're just having, obviously you can't sleep and you're having trouble functioning during the day, I think it's worth looking at. I mean, certainly if it's falling asleep, you can try over the counter, which are usually all just antihistamines. They're very safe to use. There's not a problem with them. But if you're not making headway there, then sometimes we need to look at the medication issue.
Wow. What about power naps?
If you can do them, great. I feel more tired after I do one, but people who make them work for themselves, wonderful. Yeah. That's me. I'm usually more foggy.
Okay,
so I'm better if I stay up. So if they work for you, great. But you can't force yourself. It's either something that works or doesn't. My experience.
Where does dreaming come into all this? Is it part of the issue?
No.
Okay.
Well, except that if you're really actively dreaming all through the night, you're more in REM sleep and not getting the deeper sleep into this stage 4. What that's due to, and whether how much stress, other issues, how much are we, we can get into the psychoanalytic form where we're integrating emotional factors from our lives.
It appears to me that dreaming is another dimension.
It seems to be. It's a different. It seems to be a different state of consciousness.
It's a different dimension, isn't it?
It does seem to be. Yeah, I have a feeling the answer is not one thing.
Yeah.
I think there may be dreaming that just is reprocessing information, and there may be dreaming that truly is spiritual. I think that
it's amazing.
It's up for each individual person will have to look for themselves into their experience with that.
Because it's amazing. I can dream and wake up and 3 minutes went by and it seemed like I was in another dimension and I was there for a couple of years.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you saw the movie Inception, which was about like 3 layers of dreams within dreams within dreams, which was very wild. But yeah.
All right, let's go to the phones. If you want to join us, 776-5368 or online. Toll free, at 800-373-5368. All right, hi Karen, what's your question today?
My husband has sleep apnea. He's been tested. He has it, and it's very obvious to me. But we find that when he is in a more sitting upright, that the sleep apnea is much better.
Right.
And what is the reason for that? And is that helpful enough? I mean, we can really notice a big difference.
Well, it can be a choice because when you're completely lying down, all the tissues here are pushing on the airway, all from the neck. When you're sitting up, gravity is pulling those tissues down rather than against the airway. So if it's okay for the person to do much better sitting up for the rest of their lives, that's a personal choice. Obviously, for sleep apnea, we have the testing, and usually we have what's called CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure, which are the masks that are used to help keep the airway open during night so that it doesn't close down. But yes, it's basically the tissues relaxing and closing off the airway.
Okay. Well, Well, thank you, because he's tried the CPAP thing and he can't stand it, but he seems to be able to manage.
That's common. Some people do wonderfully with it. Some people just can't do it at all. And if that's the best solution you can find, they're short of surgery, because sometimes surgery can make a difference. But that's a one-time. That's not for everybody. That's for sure. Then if that's a reasonable solution, he does much better. He feels better, thinks better, and all of that. That may be a good compromise.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Karen. At the end of the day, it's an oxygen issue, right?
It's more than oxygen, but it's a big, oxygen's part of it. But that whole thing, when you stop breathing at night, there are things that take place in the physics and air pressure in the chest and all that against this closed airway that cause a big stress as well with that stoppage of breathing. But certainly a lot of it is, yes, the dipping into these low oxygen levels for extended periods of time.
So I've seen the nose pins type things.
If it's a nasal problem, if it's a nasal obstruction problem, even the breathe right strips can be a problem. If the problem is in the back of the throat, the breathe right strips are not going to work. And some people are born with a narrower space back there that could more easily close off, but it may not manifest until they're in their 40s or 50s.
Let's go to the high energy person, maybe high on the corporate ladder, just under a lot of stress and pushing timelines. What are they up against if they don't get proper sleep? What's going to happen here?
It's going to be a slow thing over time, where typically what we find is that the high nighttime levels of cortisol, again, will predispose them to insulin resistance and diabetes. There's some association with increased even level of heart disease. Then decreased mental functioning, decision making, memory are issues there. So a lot of times that type of pattern, you need to structure nighttime differently for some calming down time. Unfortunately, a lot of times alcohol is used, which seems to help, but actually makes the quality of sleep worse over time. There are a number of things that are used to help calm the nervous system, herbal, botanical remedies that are used in particular to help, and nutritional remedies to dampen those nighttime cortisol levels can be effective.
GABA?
GABA is very good. The main thing with GABA is it's best absorbed under the tongue. If you swallow it, it doesn't get absorbed well through the stomach. So there are chewable or sublingual forms that can help that calming effect. Yes, for the falling asleep issue. The waking up in the middle of the night issue tends to respond better. Some people do better with 5-HTP and or melatonin.
Okay. All right, light in the room.
Right.
If you're watching a lot of television or you're doing social media and then you go to bed, you've been stimulated through the eyes with volumes of light. And then what about a dark room and all of those issues?
Then you got two issues there, because you have the later electronics which are stimulating the nervous system, but then you literally have the ambient light in the room when you're tying to sleep. And with some people, even a little bit of light does stimulate the brain to the point where they can't fall asleep and have to completely, make sure that the room is absolutely dark.
All right, because I can't sleep with the window or with the shade down. I have to have it open. I don't know if it's claustrophobia. I just got to be able to see out. But if it's dark, I'm okay with it.
We get used to these things, and that's the problem. We get habituated to certain patterns, and as long as it's not a problem for you, that's fine. But look, people in New York City who can't fall asleep if there aren't ambulances going on outside.
Boy, that's true.
I went there. It's like, oh my God, spend a night. God, it was many years ago in New York City, and it's just all the noise in the ambulance and all that. It's like, how do they? And they go out to the country, and it's like,
I can't handle it.
Yeah, that to them is like white noise. We sleep with this ocean white noise thing at night, which is really nice.
Hi, Velma. What's your question for Dr. Klein?
Oh, hi, Dr. Klein.
Hi.
I have a question about melatonin. I have read that you shouldn't take it all the time because they don't know about the long-term effect of it. Is that correct? And I'm going to hang up and listen.
Nobody really, so far there's no data. In fact, very high doses of melatonin have been used in cancer patients without a problem. So the problem is we don't know about a lot of things, but right now there's no suggestion that I think it's harmful in the long run. What's interesting is a lot of people do better with lower doses of melatonin than higher doses. So if the full tablet, usually it's a 3 milligram tablet, doesn't work for you, actually a half a tablet sometimes works better. But I'm not aware of any suggestion that long-term use is harmful.
Okay. What about room temperature? Is that an issue?
depending on your comfort. And obviously we have husbands and wives who, have problems with this, especially if she's having more of the menopausal and now everything's too warm. I remember my mother used to keep the house frigidly cold. I remember in high school having to go down and turn on the heat every morning. But sure, where you're comfortable at, but that's the thing. Some people run hot, some people run cold, but that's good. You need to do it obviously where you're comfortable. I can't sleep if I'm too hot. Okay. That's for sure.
All right. What's the proper way to do a sleep analysis, whether or not you're actually getting what you need?
Well, I think your own symptoms initially. I mean, the problem is sleep studies are very expensive and really only are necessary when we think that somebody has an apnea issue.
Okay.
So has those issues that I was describing before. Right. A lot of it just has to do with your own subjective description or people who have severe problems. May not have the apnea or may have other issues that we're trying to figure out, is there some other neurologic issue that's causing a problem, and that's when the sleep studies are warranted.
Well, it's an important part of our life. They say, what, a third of our lives we sleep or something?
Right. And anybody thinks that, we're wasting a third part of our lives is somebody who is really looking, okay, so our lives are all about what we accomplish. Yeah. So, yeah, right. Well, obviously we know that tends to burn people out over time. But it's a huge part. Now, there are practices that some of the advanced yogis in India apparently, and I've heard people who are longtime meditators who are awake while they're actually alerted that something's watching them sleep because they're asleep and yet they're observing it, or people who they don't sleep. But that's a whole nother level that most of us are never going to experience.
All right. So is there... I'm thinking of the person who's not on a good diet, got all these issues. I mean, it really does come down to your basic three, I think. It seems to me we could take a little bit of a self-inventory.
Sure. I mean, all those things are going to be important because without those, you're going to have a tough time. Without drugs, without getting the basic things in order. And then what we're finding is hormonal imbalances. Thyroid, sex hormone, that will also affect sleep. So I've had a lot of people who, not just women, but men, you put them on, who need testosterone, and put them on testosterone and they sleep better. Or somebody who needs thyroid and they put them on thyroid and they're sleeping better. So those are the same issues. Usually, again, these hormone problems come from the big three of diet, stress, and toxins. So quite frankly, you really need to look at your life. Look, we just saw Drew Carey at the Criterion on Friday night, and I remember watching an interview with him, and he said, the problem was he was needing Ambien to sleep. He's 100 pounds overweight and all this. He lost 100 pounds with diet and exercise, and he can sleep without the Ambien. So all these metabolism issues, all of those things obviously play a big role.
All right. Well, if you have any questions or any concerns, or perhaps you're not getting good quality sleep, you may want to make an appointment, talk to Joel Klein. Dr. Joel Klein, he's with Ventana Wellness, and that's one of the issues he deals with. It deals with the whole body, but sleep's a big part of it. And I think the first thing he's going to do is ask you about your diet. The second thing you're going to do...
What are you eating and how your relationships and your work.
Yeah. Voila. And from there, we'll move forward. Thank you, Dr. Klein.
Great. Thanks, Barry. Always a pleasure.
All right. We'll be right back.